Welcome back, YouTube viewers. Merry Christmas to everybody. So it's the day after Christmas and back out in the shop, back at it. Got a really crazy stretch of weather here. We had, I guess what is referred to as a bomb typhoon, which nothing instills fear like adding the word bomb to I don't know, to any other word that sounds dangerous or catastrophic. But what that means in plain English is that it got cold and it snowed. So it's been I won't lie though, it's been damn cold here for a pretty good stretch of days for about a week. But I don't care because I just had the door open, but it's a balmy 75 out here in the shop, so I thought I'd start doing some cleanup and start working on some projects. All right, so first off, easy project number one. I had a little welding job. The spinner tab on my good buddy Joe's dock. I don't know what you call it, dock winch. That busted off, and I guess he couldn't get anybody to do what I would consider to be an elementary welding job. He couldn't get anybody to do it for him, so I accepted that task. So hopefully that'll be a nice little Christmas present for Mr. Joe. But also, this thing was sitting outside. I actually had this over at my aunt and uncle's house for Christmas time. One of the things we like to do is make a little presentation for the kiddies. We drag Santa over across the street, riding his little hot rod sleigh, so we can deliver our Christmas cheer. This sat outside during said blizzard or bomb typhoon, so it's got some snow in it, but it's made for that. So I'll let that get in here and thaw out because I got to do a bunch of work on it. So the genesis of this project goes back many years. I don't know, maybe 8-9 years ago, and put together kind of a hodgepodge go-kart frame for this pretty neat little fiberglass tub, because I had an old lawnmower engine. I figured, what the hell, let's make something cool out of it. And my aunt was kind of pushing me in that direction. Like she's a big Christmas nut. She thought it was a cool idea, so this was the evolution of that. But it's got some serious shortcomings. So this was not a I would call a precise job by any stretch of the word, but it was kind of hodgepodge together, but it's pretty neat, and I want to salvage it. I want to make it a little more usable and a little more dependable. The biggest problem I had with it was this really rickety drive setup I've got. I mean, yeah, that's a bungee cord. And what usually happens with this sucker is it works, it runs, it goes good, but anytime you get on it and you start whipping, as we say in the North, whipping shitties or doing donuts with it, it just throws the chain. So I've got and a lot of that has to do with how this was set up. I was pressed for time, and I just went with the straight axle setup here, but it's got way too much range of motion here. I mean, honestly, if you're doing a solid axle, this has to be on a planer swing arm, or it has to be rigidly mounted to something. And I guess I flew too close to the sun there on Wings of Cheese Whiz. But back to the point, my original idea was I was going to go back and put like a proper independent rear suspension setup on this. So this just got me by, right? Because naturally, being the procrastinator I am, I think I started this project like, I don't know, maybe a month and a half before Christmas. So I was on the clock. So at any rate, I got to tear all this stuff down, get this stuff all cleaned up, and start picking apart the pieces I want to reuse and the parts I want to do over, and go grab that dusty old parts bin out of the big barn. But you can kind of see here, I originally had coilover shocks in the back, and I ended up putting Unistrut in there just to be like, no, maybe If I just take the suspension out of the equation, maybe this will be a little more reliable. Negative. You can almost kind of see how much of a swerve I got going on there. And that, I believe, is a symptom of said donuts. But it's pretty, I mean, this thing is pretty neat. I don't know, this might be a stretch, but it'll probably start. Because it's got a new battery in it. I'll let it thaw out first, and I'll give it a start up for you so you can see what we're doing here. But yeah, it's kind of neat. It looks kind of like a T-bucket. It's got this kind of like T-bucket style going on, and when it runs, it's actually pretty fun. And even like the steering, the original steering on this was a joke. So I think last winter, again, same deal. You know, like the 2 weeks before Christmas, I went over to my uncle's and we hauled it out and we rigged up a little bit better steering setup. So this has like a 2U joint kind of a deal going on, or a double U joint kind of a deal going on with a better fixed bearing steering shaft, right? That's rigidly mounted back down to the frame, and it goes to this little go-kart rack and pinion, and that was like a world of improvement. So this thing actually has some reasonable amount of steering to it. And this tub, I guess that's what we're talking about. This tub actually came off of a sleigh that had like an 1 7/8" ball on it. So underneath of it, where the frame is now, this originally had like a couple of like little metal skis and stuff, and I guess this was made by Evinrude. So they call it the Sleigh-Mate, and it's got that really bitchin' retro Evinrude logo on it. And my grandpa had this back in his barn kicking around. I remember my dad used to have this like back in the 80s. He used to have this up at our place up north, and he would tow behind a snowmobile. So he had a teeny tiny little ball hitch on a snowmobile. He would hook this sucker up and we can go for a ride, pile in there and go for rides. And it was pretty neat. I actually remember my brother getting us into a pretty hairy situation. So a lot of near-death experiences on the old Sleigh-Mate that I'll probably do a little cartoon trying to reenact that. But I'd say the punchline to that story was somehow he got this thing going up at speed in a straight line on a really icy road, and for I don't know what possessed him, but he thought it would be cool to like slam the brakes and then put some steering input into the sled. And essentially what happened was this sucker like jackknifed 3 or 4 times, and some chaos ensued. But we survived, and that's the cool part of the 80s, man. It was like safety optional. Anyways, that's this little project. Evinrude Sleigh-Mate Christmas go-kart thing. Alright, so that's project number 2. And then number 3, I got another little thing in the works here, where I have an old John Deere Hit Miss Model E engine. It's like a horse and a half, and it's really cool. I had it set up on to do like what do you call it? Ice cream maker. So I had that powering an ice cream maker, and that was cool for a little while, and then that lost interest. So I want to make that a little more usable, because right now it's just like a museum piece that's outside on rails, and it works great. But I don't work in an oil field or have a well pump where I need to really slowly drain water out of things. So I'm looking for kind of a cooler use for it. And back at a couple of tractor shows actually that I went to over the past couple of years, I've seen dudes that have like these little miniature Rumley like replica models that are powered by old small horsepower hit and miss engines, and I thought that would be a freaking awesome project for this. So my first start to that was I found some old I-beams that I think came out of my grandpa's place. He had used for like some kind of a hodgepodge front end loader. I'm going to cut those up and make some frame rails for that. And then for the drive system, I got this old 8-speed transmission that came out of a wheel horse. So I got this off of online auction for like freaking nothing. I think I got it shipped to my house for like $100, and it's cool because it's got high-low range, 4 gears including reverse. So it's going to turn. It's going to take, I'd say, a relatively slow input speed and turn it into a pretty decent amount of torque at the back wheel. So, and these wheel horse transmissions are like legit, man. This is old school, like straight gearbox type stuff. It's like a miniature transmission that you'd see in an automobile, like a manual transmission. So it's got really nice bearings, really nice precision cut gears and stuff, and it's a fine piece of engineering and manufacturing. So it'll be a welcomed addition. Plus, it's heavy as a mofo. It's like the cases are all cast iron, right? You know, it's built right, which is what I like. So that's I got to get that stripped down. I'm probably gonna break it apart because everything in it works really good. Like, you know, everything spins really good, but the high-low range selector is kind of jammed in there. So I gotta do some investigating. So I gotta crack the case and take a look at what's going on there. But it's a neat unit. Plus it's got a limited slip on the inside, which is pretty baller too. So so that's another little project I'm kicking around with out here. Like I said, it's real cold. Cockshut's hibernating for now. I'm kind of tired of working on that for a little bit. I do have a power steering pump project I'm working on for that, because I think my other power steering pump is shit the bed. So that one's gonna get, I'll probably do a video on that. But other than that, the only other emergency I have is came out here and cracked the little fridge, and dude, I am all out of bush light. So that's like a major emergency I gotta take care of here in the short term. But you know, nice day. It's freaking cold out. Sick of being in the house. I'm getting the space madness. Came outside. It's nice and toasty out here. Working on a couple projects. Got my cheesy, what do you call it? Cheesy westerns going on the TV. Life is good. All right, so until next time, Merry Christmas. Wish everybody a happy, safe New Year, and talk at you later. Sorry. Got most of the snow out of there. Had a chance to thaw out. So underneath all that crud was an 18 horsepower Vanguard V-twin. Came straight out of a white lawnmower. Dropped in there pretty good. Oh, on the very bottom, it's just got a centrifugal clutch that drives, that runs to a chain drive over to, let's see here, over to a right angle gearbox right there. On the back side of that right angle gearbox is another little pinion shaft, sprocket on it, and that goes down to a jack drive. So that's how it converts horizontal chain drive to the vertical chain drive, and that's what's broken on this. The chain just bust. I think I broke the master link actually. But on that little tiny sprocket there, that runs the length of the chassis all the way back to another jack shaft that goes out back to the axle. So the cool part is it's electric start. Have kind of a hodgepodge little dashboard set up here. So key ignition. All right, we're on. Choke. Baby. There it goes. It's pretty neat.